Hello, my friends, and welcome. Welcome to week 2 of our April Poetry Celebration. I'm so glad you're here. My name is Kate Chadbourne, and I'm a poet, a singer, a storyteller, and a teacher. And I run the Bardic Academy, which is a school for creators like you. I am hosting this celebration in conjunction with the journal makers Jumping Fox Design, and let me just show you one of their beautiful journals. This that I am bringing around with me that I love. They are a woman-based company out of California, and they make deluxe and beautiful journals and writing products. I love them. And they are very generously providing our prizes in this April Poetry Celebration. Again, more on that in a little bit. So this is we're launching into our second week of our poetry celebration. The first week was wonderful. I'm excited to tell you that 24 poets sent poems, and I want to thank each and every one of you. What a joy it was to read your poems. I feasted. I wanted to, I would love to read every single poem, and then we would have a 4-hour video, but I wanted to give you some idea of the scope of the topics that came in this week. A wonderful poem about a neighbor talking loudly on the phone. Great. Another poet wrote about watching a bird's nest and waiting for the chicks to hatch and how that would help her feel more at home in a new home. A very beloved friend wrote a poem about making a pie for a friend. A wonderful poem came in about letters to the poet's younger and older selves and the wisdom and reassurance that came with that. Another wonderful poem about a birthday celebration that involved glimpsing seals and imagining what it might be like to be among them. A very wonderful poem came. I know I say wonderful, but I really do love these poems. A wonderful poem came in about watching sunrise in Cambodia at Angkor Wat. And I just want to read the last few lines because it really, it just lit me up. He wrote, "Our awe in the rebirth of the sun and in the delight of living itself." And I love that because I feel like every single poem that came in, even when there was contention or sadness, echoed with that delight of living. So thank you, everyone. Now, I want to say, if you didn't participate last week, jump in now. You're so welcome. You don't have, this is our celebration and your celebration, and you can participate on your own terms. So if you'd like to jump in at any time, you could write 1 week, you can write all 4 weeks, whatever you like, but it's not too late. Again, how to participate. You just send poems. You send them to me, Kate, and my email address, it's all below, but just in case, is kate@katechadbourne.com. You can send 1 poem, you can send 7 poems. I ask that you send your poems by Friday, and I believe that's the 15th of April at 5 p.m. And I would be so grateful if you would send the poems either. My favorite would be pasted into the body of the email, then nothing to open. That's a real help to me with 24 poets participating or more. Or if necessary, to put them all in one attachment. That really is a help. So thank you for your help with that. Well, let's jump into some of the poems that came over the week. Again, a bouquet of delights. I asked you to think about ordinary moments, and I loved this poem. Many of us are addicted to Wordle. Are you? I can't even stop. It's like the daily ritual. Deb wrote this Wordle haiku. Wordle, 5 letters and 6 attempts to finish. Crafty little game. The other day I didn't get the word until the 6th time, so I almost lost, but I did get it in time, and the little message came back, phew. Anyway, I love that. My friend Karen wrote this wonderful poem called Welcoming April. We were writing together with our friends, Jamie and Emma, And we were talking about welcoming in April, and she wrote this poem. Easter bonnets paired to rubber boots, egg hunts with gloves, sudden snow squalls bury forsythia, blooms in a mantle of white. Mayflowers snooze beneath a most unwelcome snow blanket. Summer garden ornaments are aliens in a winterscape. Soft breezes retreat into an unforgiving chill. How can returning songbirds find sustenance? Fields and woodlands seem to be greening until one ventures through a muddy slog of still not yet spring. Wait until May? April should be sued for false advertising. I want my money back. That's brilliant. Well done. I want my money back. Another take on this, of course, is that April launches poetry, and Marlena wrote this. An ode to our poetry celebration. In April, rejoice. Find the drafty little things that are floating in the air. Press some like flowers between pages. Leave others free in the breeze. Celebrate the voice that you, poet, find within yourself. Celebrate the voice that you, poet, find within yourself. That moves me so much. I wrote to one of the poets that it's amazing how much the poetic voice knows, more than the one of us holding the pen or typing the words. We consult that voice and it has something for us. I know you know what I mean. It's beautiful. My friend Pam, two friends wrote poems that began I want, and I thought they made a beautiful pair. My friend Pam wrote this beauty. I want to speak of simple things, tree bark, rain running in rivulets to soak the roots, wren song, the hollow thrum of footfalls upon the earth, the hot tea warming a cold April. That is so alive. It's so beautiful. And Linda also wrote an I want poem that went right to my heart. I want to make up for lost time. Walk wetlands with crying paths and watch killdeer dive, then spend more time around trees with knots as they morph into remembered faces. That's just to say right there, Pam and Linda, thank you. And also, all of us might begin a poem, I want. What a fruitful place to launch from. Another of the week's themes that I really loved, a lot of poems came in on the idea of what it means to be a poet, since, again, our theme this month is be a poet. And we're exploring each week kind of iterations of what that might mean. Tricia wrote this beautiful poem called Bernardo. I had forgotten her question, what does it mean to be a poet? The custodian passed my classroom door, the long handle of the mop, the mast of his ship, steering him to his next port. This campus sparkled, no dust, no dirt. We did not talk in the same language, but before long we spoke together. I learned of his new house, his trip with his sister. He showed me some pictures of the work he was doing to make his house a home. Then hugs when we saw each other in the hall, me learning a bit of Portuguese, he practicing his English. A friendship formed from language, images, openness. Two poets writing a new poem together. Two poets writing a new poem together. I love that. I love that. I love the spirit and the willingness in that. the curiosity. Curiosity has got to be one of the greatest poetic virtues and skills, I would say, to exercise it. Just that openness and readiness to embrace something or someone new. I love it. My friend Betsy wrote a wonderful poem on that same topic, and it's called "What Does It Mean to Be a Poet?" To be opportunistic or optimistic, to build with words or fly with birds, to share, to care, to dare or beware, to be wide-eyed and wild, to be as wise as a child, to remember, to regret, to never forget, to avoid boring, to discourage snoring, to see everything, to be anything, to play, to say, to sing, to bring love. Yes, all of that. There's so much expansiveness in that. And finally, my friend Kathleen Larkin. Now, you can see behind me, I have put up this beautiful bunting. Kathleen made this bunting. It has fairies. I love it so very much. I asked for a bunting to celebrate the spring, and here it is. It's so, so beautiful. And she gave this answer. What does it mean to be a poet? A poet is the enabler of poetry. That is brilliant, Kathleen. Brilliant and concise and true. And that also is expansive because it gives us all a lot of room in which to be poets, doesn't it? To encourage each other, to encourage ourselves, to be on the lookout for poems. I just love it. I just love it. So let's have a look. Again, I'm working with my binder, my poetry home. One thing I especially, I really do love this. I love this a poetry on the cover. This week, one thing I did to my binder is I taped in Kathleen's words because I love them so much. And I wanted to have them, all of us have the potential to be enablers of poetry, to call it out of each other and to call it out of ourselves and to notice it and cherish it. Like Trisha's poem about Bernardo, looking to meet each other in language, in poetry. I just love that. So my binder and my beautiful paper and new things are taking shape in here, poems. I think one of the exciting things is back here, a list. It's kind of becoming, I love the way a tool like this becomes, you sort of build a relationship with it. Here's all the poets. Isn't that cool? It means a lot to me, actually, to have your names written in the book. That feels important, and it feels like a way that I kind of put my hand out to everyone and that we're all sort of clasping hands in that way. So that's, again, the Jumping Fox Design Binder. And just to remind you, this is one of the prizes if you choose this as a prize. It's pretty glorious, and you can see there's a lot of space in it. So it's taking shape for me week by week as I find my way. Also, this is going everywhere with me. This is their new small pocket notebook that I really love. Paper is wonderful. I love writing in here. In fact, I thought I would read you just one little poem out of here that I wrote. A lot of you poets and me too are observing nature around us. And I wrote this just a little scrap of a poem called Japanese Maple. Her buds come late, later than the sugar maples, later than the forsythia thronged with wrens, later than the hickory who seems always on time. But with her limbs swirled around her trunk to form a moss-covered cup, she stands open to rain and time and every other grace that is hers to receive. She doubts not her burgeoning will arrive. That's all of us too. Our burgeoning will arrive and does arrive. So many good things. Now, our take on our theme this week of Be a Poet, I'm calling it Wondering and Wandering, because I really think those are two things that poets forever have done. Again, back to that theme of curiosity, and also walking. So let's start with the wondering. Now, I bet many of you will remember we are very lucky to have in our midst a marvelous young poet called Declan. And the very first video of the very first poetry celebration, Declan's poem thrilled us all. And he shared a poem this week that gives us our spark for the week. This is it. As I walk down the path, I wonder, what makes rubies red? What makes us fall from a tree? What makes pens work? What makes dominoes fall? Why don't people spend more time outside? As I walk down the path, I wonder. I love that. I love that very much. I love the wondering. And so I thought it might be a fun spark, if you choose, to write a wondering poem. And, you know, Declan's poem has that circular structure. It begins, as I walk down the path, I wonder, and it ends with the same line. So that might be something if you want to use that structure, or just begin with I wonder. Again, Pam and Linda's poems began I want. I wonder, they're all generative though, aren't they? Meaning that they give us a place to go. I wonder. I think that's exciting. The second, this is our kind of dare for the week. Now, poets have been great walkers forever. I bet you know about the romantic poets of the 19th century, especially, say, William Wordsworth, John Keats, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, and I definitely want to include Dorothy Wordsworth here too, because she was a champion walker. Now, one reason I'm wearing the swan today, I'm wearing it because it puts me in a poetic mood, but also because I bought this swan 3 years ago now, when I went to the Lake District in England, where Wordsworth and Coleridge and Dorothy and Keats and many other poets had walked for miles. And my aim in going was to walk and write poems, and it was glorious. And so the swan is a kind of celebration of that. I wanted to share with you a poem about walking and what it can bring to us by Thomas Hardy that I think is just a thrilling poem. I'll give you just this background. It's called When I Set Out for Lioness. And when Hardy was a young man, he was a kind of apprentice architect, and he was summoned to Cornwall to work on a church there. And he walked the whole way. And when he arrived, he met the woman that he would later marry, and he was bedazzled. So this poem is kind of after he's returned from the walk, but he's thinking about it. When I set out for Lioness, 100 miles away, the rime, that's an old word for frost, the rime was on the spray, and starlight lit my lonesomeness when I set out for Lioness, 100 miles away. What would be chance at Lioness while I should sojourn there? No prophet durst declare, nor did the wisest wizard guess what would be chance at Lioness while I should sojourn there. When I came back from Lioness with magic in my eyes, all marked with mute surmise, my radiance rare and fathomless, when I came back from Lioness with magic in my eyes. So that's what a walk can do. I walk every day, and my walks sometimes result in a lot less glamour than that. But I think a walk can do so much for us. So that's my dare to you this week, is to go on a poetry walk and to commit to finding 3 things that inspire you. I was going to say surprise, but let's say inspire you. Now, we might think that that's entirely up to chance, who or what we meet. But I am gently arguing that we get to decide that ahead of time. We can decide, I'm going to find inspiration on this walk. And then if you should, come back and find that one of those 3 things induces you to write a poem, all the better. So thank you so much for being here with me this week. Thank you for sending your poems. Thank you also to the many of you who liked the video last week and did all those things. If you would, again, it really does help me. I so appreciate it. Like our video if you do like it. It's just great and encouraging. Subscribe to the channel. It would be wonderful. Share it with a poetry-loving friend. Invite someone. Anything is a help. Also, you might enjoy being a part of my small newsletter community. It goes out once a month. It's not annoying. It's mostly just a lovely personal letter. And I just let you know what's happening in my world. And I would love to have you be a part of our community. So you'll find a link to sign up below if you'd like to do that. So please send poems and mostly just enjoy a week of poetry and April. We're so lucky, aren't we? Thank you for being here. All my best to you this week.